in the section. Ebenezer, I see you. Good evening. Thank you for joining. Please hang on, everybody. I have no idea why I can't see the place to share my screen. Hang on a moment. Yeah. Thank you, Malik from Gambia. Welcome, Malik from Gambia. Who else? We have Onyinyechi. Okay, I'm beginning to recognize the regulars. So maybe one of these times I should begin to give the regulars something. Yeah, Dan from Aba and Onyinyechi is from Abakaliki. That's amazing, Onyinyechi. We need to connect at some point, when I come to Abakaliki. Okay, I do not see, I don't know what's going on. Is any of you techie here? Where do I see the share screen? I need to share. Okay, hang on. Let me ask Facebook. Where is the share screen button on Facebook? Now I am live. All right, and that's the beauty of this. We keep learning. Okay, so it says go to live producer, choose use camera, go to startup menu and choose. All right, so live producer, choose camera. Where is live producer? This is strange. Live producer, choose camera. Where is camera? Yeah, so these things happen. I think we'll find a way to just go on without the slides, but it really would have made a lot of difference if you were looking at the slides while I'm talking. I don't see the share screens. Interesting. I've always shared my screen. Just a simple button that usually is under the camera. Okay. Yeah, hello, Ebenezer from Abuja. You're very welcome, Ebenezer. Yeah, so I'm going to make it a really good one for us today. This is strange. Okay. All right, so let's go on and talk about how to find your competitive advantage. This is day 5 of the 1000 days of live business coaching that I'm going to be producing here every single day for 1000 days. Why am I doing this? I woke up about 2 weeks ago with a profound question. I asked myself, imagine that I had 1000 days to live and I want to encapsulate all the things I've learned and all the wisdom I've acquired in life in these 1000 years and then teach the world. What would I teach? So that's how I came about that challenge. And I can actually share, I think it's a good time to also, when I start to share my journey, how it's been going. Because what you discover is when you start a profoundly transformational activity like this one, because if you ask yourself, for instance, some of you here are business owners. Actually, can you type in the chat, what businesses you do? Hello, Thomas Dim. Thomas is from Cameroon. Thank you. You are joining from Yaoundé, Cameroon. All right, I would like to see you, all of you, currently in the live, type what business you do or what work you do in the chat. So that would help me to give practical examples. Please type in the chat. All right, and then Obongabasi Okun is joining from Akwa Ibom. Awesome. How's it going over there in Akwa Ibom? I was in Uyo sometime in April to lead a retreat at the hotel, 4 Point Hotel. So, and Ikorebene is just so beautiful. I hadn't been there in maybe over 20, if not 30 years, because I think the last time I remember before this April going to that part of Nigeria was during my university days in 1986. You know, I had this very good friend, Dave, you know, who was from that area. I think that place, I still struggle to pronounce that village. It's called Oroanyang or so. And so since about 1986 or 87, I've never been to that part of Akwa Ibom, and I was pleasantly surprised. Okay, okay. The question, Abdurrahman, the question is, I basically want to have an idea about what you guys do for a living, the business you do or the work you do, so that in the course of the conversation, I will use specific examples, you know, in your business. All right, so I would look out for that in the comment section. So we are looking at how to find your competitive advantage. I'm going to find a way to still be able to send you guys the presentation, because the presentation is actually very, very rich. So I'm going to find a way to send that to you. Now, why are we talking about competitive advantage for your business or even for you as an individual, as a brand? Because the world is too noisy now, extremely noisy. You know, if you're a content creator, for instance, or you develop courses, you know, for instance, and you go to the internet, there are at least 5 billion people connected to the internet worldwide today. Could be more than that. It could be more than that, because I remember even in my village, you know, where electricity still hasn't reached a greater part of that village. You know, people still have access to internet, and then they use some solar contraptions to charge their phones. Now, so there are so many people online, there are so many businesses online doing what you're doing. If you're, just name whatever it is that you are in. All right, so Dan says, I make ladies' shoes as a side hustle. That is fantastic. In fact, why it is important for you to introduce yourselves and your locations in the chat is, I am expecting that as we go on, you will be giving each other businesses. For instance, now that I know that Dan makes these ladies' shoes, in Christmas season, if I want to buy shoes for my wife, I know that if Dan keeps coming here, I will remark him. I can ask him, please send me your catalog. So I would like us to be doing businesses with each other. And then usually, you know, I've had audiences regularly from Cameroon, from Liberia, from South Africa coming into the live, and then sometimes, you know, from US and then the UK. So it's a very powerful platform. And why it is very powerful platform is this space is not for everybody. It's not the sort of things that you find in the online space in Nigeria, because this is not comedy. This is not TikTok dance. This is not talking about, you know, female body parts and then making some nasty jokes. You know, you can't find that with me. I have had the privilege, you know, to have some very deep spiritual and business experiences. And I think the peak of them was working with the Stanford Graduate School of Business, Stanford University. They have a program that they call Stanford Seed. I worked with them as a business advisor. And so just having that privilege to interact with the brightest minds, the brightest professors on the planet, and then sometimes to be on the same platform teaching with them. You cannot expect me to come here and be doing comedy skits, and then talking about women or just cracking foolish jokes. So this is actually for serious-minded people, for business owners, who want to scale their businesses, because the Stanford University has incredible experience in raising businesses. Many of the big businesses you hear about today had their roots in Stanford University, like Google, like HP, even Elon Musk spent, he went there to do PhD. I think he just spent like 1 week. But you see, Silicon Valley is, if you like, the brainchild of Stanford University. So I have learned a lot interacting with the best, and this is what you're going to be getting. So, and that's why one of my strongest objectives is to help you grow your business. My philosophy is that if I can help you solve your own problems, my own problems will be solved, because I'm also building a big business. I want my business to grow beyond just Nigeria. I want to start having clients in Europe, in Australia, in Asia, in North America, and so there's no reason also for you not to think big, not to have some really ambitious goals. Because one of the things I found out, working with businesses in Africa, in at least 12 to 13 countries in the continent, is that we seem to think too small here. We seem to think too small. Whether we are talking about Ghana or Cameroon or Nigeria, businesses here think very, very small. And I had that affliction too of thinking very small. But through a process of coaching and mentorship, many of you have heard me talk about the billionaire who rewired my mind. That was in 2003, between 2002 and 2005, that I related with him very closely. He rewired my mind. So wealthy people do not think the way ordinary people do. They do not. They do not read what ordinary people read. They do not go to the same place ordinary people read. And then one of the things that he did for me was to rewire my mind to think big. So that when you are thinking about the future, you are not planning your future based on your current circumstances, because it's very easy to, when you look at your background, for some of us in the chat, we have like zero background, and then we see the challenges before us in terms of wanting to run big business, and we just say, like, who am I? And then we start suffering imposter syndrome, we start suffering self-doubt, we start suffering inferiority complex. You see, but I have interacted, very closely with Americans. In fact, since I worked with Chevron in 2000, I left Shell in January or February 2000, and then I started working in Chevron in March the 15th of 2000. Wait a minute, of 2000, yes, that's correct. Is it 2001? Of 2000. So working with Americans, traveling very often to the United States. And I remember there was a particular year I did 4 trips, conferences, meeting with American businesses, and then also having been coached by many Americans. In fact, 90-something% of my coaching budget have been spent on American businesses, business owners, coaches like Billie Jean is marketing, like Dean Jackson, like Russell Brunson, and just name them. And then in recent times, I have been eyeing Myron Golden to attend this program. So these guys, one thing common to them is these guys think big. They think big, building big business. And and I was in the United States 2 months ago or so. It's the same thing I see. Their concept of the world is big. Americans might have their issues in other ways, but when it really comes to thinking big, it's incredible. I was in London a couple of years ago, and I used the hotel, which I paid so much. The hotels in central London are very expensive, but the rooms were tiny. In fact, when you get into the hotel and drag your suitcase, you have to put it, you cannot open the door and then keep your suitcase in that place at the same time. So the space was so tiny and it was very expensive. The bathroom, I could hardly wiggle, in that place, And then many houses in central London are like that, but when you go to America, these guys think big. Even their food, you go to their, food courts, and then you see their large and see their mini. So the mini in America, if you enter like McDonald's, I don't eat there, but if you enter there and then you see their Big Mac and see their mini is like the Maxi in the UK. So they think big, and then you see young entrepreneurs in their 20s and 30s, and they're talking about the kind of numbers that they are doing. This one did $4 million last year. He's in the process of doing $7 million this year. These guys think big. You see, but in our part of the world here, and then Thomas, you can tell me about Cameroon. Okay, you can put it in the comment section. Whether the Cameroon entrepreneurs also think big. So here, by the time we're thinking about $1 million, our heads are already exploding. It's like, where can we get that kind of market? That's what we think. Because by the time you now do the conversion of $1 million, like in the Naira, you're looking at 1.5 billion. So if somebody now even talks about doing a $5 million business or $10 million business, so we're not wired to think that way. Okay. Is this making sense? Please type in the chat. Is this making sense? Okay, great. So that forms a very excellent background for what we are talking about today, because one of the tools, one of the mechanisms for growing from small to big is to find what your competitive advantage is. Whether you're a freelancer, you're a content creator, you are making ladies' shoes. Let me see the other things we have in the comments here. Yeah, thanks, Abdurrahman. Yeah, I said it's making sense. Ebenezer says, I have an NGO, Lawyers Arise for the People. Okay, all right. It's a patient's rights and safety advocacy. Fantastic. Okay, you're a lawyer with specialization in medical law and fertility law. This is fantastic. In fact, what we are going to discuss this evening makes a lot of sense, to you. Abdul Rahman is graduate of agriculture, registered. Okay, Universal Synergy Limited, currently training, capacity building and consulting, all right, to farmers, youth and women. Fantastic. And then I'd like all of you to interact in the chat, see, who you can actually go into partnerships with. At some point, we'll talk about partnerships because that is also one leverage. But I know that partnerships usually some very, very difficult, in our part of the world, finding someone to trust. And I've had situations, in my coaching career where I had to mediate, partnership bros. It's not usually pretty. Okay. Malik is a full-time database administrator in a commercial bank. Okay. Part-time entrepreneur in the direct selling network marketing. Fantastic. Yeah, I also did some bit of network marketing. And then the interesting thing about network marketing was that's actually how I started having my introduction to entrepreneurship. The first network marketing I joined was in New York, and it was one of the oldest one. Okay, so many of you already have heard about Amway, um, but at that time it was called Quick Start. And as at that time they had incredible. This was 2001, I believe. So that was quite a while ago. And the ports, the quality products that they sold were just incredible. The ports that we bought from Quickstar in 2001, 2002, thereabouts, from the US, they are basically what they were. So 2001, just 20 something years ago, what they were 20 something years ago is what they are today. It's just incredible. But you see, why I digress and mention it is that that was actually where I started getting my introduction to entrepreneurship. I really eventually didn't make money from network marketing, but it was an excellent foundation because I remember then, whenever I was in New York, we met every Monday evening. And one of those evenings, the very first time I joined them, my upline took me there to that hotel in New York. I was wearing my like casual something, looking good, casual dress. When he saw me at the hotel, he said, "No way, you can't dress like this into the place." And then we had to go to a boutique right there in the hotel, these hotels that have places where you can buy suits and things like that. And I had to buy, he made me buy suits there. And then I remember that particular suit. It had three buttons. So, and I bought a matching shirt and tie. And then I wore that. I went into the dressing room, wore it, and then I came out buttoning the three shirts. Then Louis Bennett, who was my upline, Louis Bennett was actually the one who took me there to buy he saw it. He said, "No, no, no, no. You don't button all the shirts." I had never done that. You don't button all. You don't button everything. You leave one. If it is two buttons in the suit, you leave one. And you would imagine, I had worked with Shell at the time. I was working with Chevron, so you would imagine that I know. But that grooming was so important. And then we had this, what they call a book a month program, reading program. And those books were just incredible, mindset changing books. And so I encourage people, when I encourage them to join direct marketing organizations, it's not necessarily to make money, but you join the ones that can teach you sales, that can teach you how to, make appearance, how to approach a customer and things like that. It was a very good exposure for me. So glad to know that that's what you're doing, Malik. Okay, so Obongabasi is into livestock and vegetable farming. Now, and the reason I'm mentioning this thing is that for this, your livestock and vegetable farming, there are tens of thousands of other people doing it. That is why if you want to scale it, you have to find your competitive advantage and focus on that competitive advantage. Because if you are doing what everybody else is doing, the most important question that your competitive advantage does for you, and I would like you to type this in the comment section, everybody. Remember, like I said, I always encourage you, whenever something strikes you in a live event like this, type it, because I have been coaching for a long time, and I see that there's this mysterious connection between, I write a lot, I have my journal. So even if I have a phone call with you, or I had an interaction with you, I'm reading comments on my whatever, and then something very insightful happens. I jot it down, I write it down. So whenever you hear something that is aha, type it there, because you automatically own it by coordinating your hand and your brain in the process of typing it. Okay, so one question, which is the question I want you to type out, and to also make a note of it. that makes competitive advantage, to find what your competitive advantage is critical, is this: why should the customer do business with you and not with 10,000 other livestock farmers? But the interesting thing is, in some of your businesses like livestock farming and things like that, you don't really have problem with the market, because with 200 and something million people to feed, no amount of food produced in Nigeria can, feed our population right now, unless we become very intentional about it. Because who would have imagined that we would be importing Gary from Togo? Who would have imagined that most of the rice that we use to feed our people come from outside the country? The same thing with beans. I think we import beans from Niger and things like that. But you don't want to take it for granted, because situations can change. Technology can happen and then disrupt things. So you still need to define your competitive advantage. All right. So so there are three things I'm going to discuss today. The first one is what is competitive advantage? So just to talk about it. And we now discuss the 9 sources of competitive advantage in your business or in your work. And then we touch on how to find your competitive advantage. Does that sound great? Does that sound useful? Okay. All right. So your competitive advantage is what makes your business better than your competitors. So get that right off the bat. Okay? And it sets you apart in the eyes of your customers. And that's actually a key focus. Remember, 2 days ago during the live coaching session, we talked about customer centricity. And I said that one important principle or way to scale your business, to go from local to regional to national to international, every time you scale, you must uncover massive value for your customers, and then also massive distribution. Okay, so sometimes you scale by finding massive value, creating one, and also by creating distribution. So when we talk about how to create a business plan, I believe it's tomorrow or next, how to create a business plan that actually works. We will discuss that a little bit more. Okay, so your competitive advantage sets you apart in the eyes of the customer, because competitors don't actually matter. So me, I don't like emphasizing competition. I don't really like emphasizing competition. And then for some of you, if you've read the book, what's this book? It's just dancing in my mind right now. Very, very common and all that. That talks about blue ocean and red ocean. I think it is the Blue Ocean Strategy. That's the title of the book. I recommend it. Okay, very, very popular in business schools. So, and the fulcrum of that book is basically saying that you want to create a category that is totally unique and different, that your competitors won't even bother to start competing, because what you do is so unique, is so high up there. So that becomes a competitive advantage in the eyes of your customer. All right. And I said that the key question you should bear in mind when discussing competitive advantage is why should the customer do business with me and not with alternatives, substitutes, competitors? Why should they do business with me? Why should they buy water? Because some of you might be in the pure water, water sachet business. Thomas, do you guys also have it in Cameroon? And then there's somebody from Liberia, I think, here. Do you also? I think it's very much the same. Many things you find in Nigeria, you find in the neighboring countries. Now, the question is, why should customers buy your own sachet water? and not the other people's, because the product is completely the same, just water and nylon. The only difference is what people print on it, which people don't even read. So bear in mind that that's what we're going to be talking about. All right, so what are the sources of competitive advantage? There are 9 basic sources of competitive advantage, and I'm going to be taking them one after the other very briefly. So how can you create your competitive advantage? So the very first one is what we call value creation advantages. Don't let the big words scare you. Value creation basically means there are 3 things that your business, every business, no matter which one it is, there are 3 things your business does. Your business creates value for the customer, it delivers it, and then it captures that same value. So basically, you create products, a service, a solution that addresses your customers' pain points. Okay, but see, creating that value is not it's not good enough. Yeah, because you can create the value. Like some of us who have written books, still have tons of those books in our garages. And marketing too, you're creating value, and then you're going to see later that sometimes you create value and you don't capture that, and that's how you're putting money on the table. So the second thing is to deliver it, and that is distribution. How do you get the value that you created, you generate in your business, out there to the customers, to the people who need them? That is your operations, your sales, your fulfillment mechanisms, and all that. And then the third one, capturing value, simply means how do you get paid? Because you've put value out there. So now it's in the hands of the customer, it's in the marketplace. How do you capture that value? So that you put out something there, and then you capture that back in form of payment and financial benefit. So therefore, value creation advantages means that your operations are very, very efficient. You reduce waste. Okay, I was in a palm kernel oil producing market. What they call them, it's like an industrial layout where all these local people produce palm kernel oil, and so you could see that if your own company reduces waste, maximizes your supply chain much better, and then you use better technology, it will give you a competitive advantage. The second source of competitive advantage, and then the lawyer in our midst can also speak to that, is legal advantage. So at this one's involved, you kind of have patents, you have copyright, or maybe you even have a contract, like Microsoft, like Apple, like Elon Musk's company. So sometimes they have contract, with the U.S. government. It's amazing. Can you imagine having a contract with the U.S. government to supply the International Space Center? That is a lot of, that's billions. And then sometimes these contracts are like 5 years, and then you renew them. So you can see how wonderful. That's a competitive advantage, because you don't have to worry about cash flow for as long as those contracts exist. So that's a competitive advantage for your business. The third one is technology, all right, and innovation. So that one, when you use the latest technology, like there is a restaurant, I first got to know about them in Abuja, but they are also in Lagos, and they're also in Port Harcourt. So Jevnik restaurant, that's what it's called. I'm amazed at the way that they keep innovating and they keep using technology. So a couple of years ago, I just got in there and I saw that they have these devices that they use to take your order. So you just walk into the restaurant, and then somebody comes, just with that thing, takes your order. He just goes around taking orders. And then apparently it's wired to the people in the kitchen, because by the time he finishes taking all these orders, he goes out there, the orders are ready. So that is technology. So because of it, they're able to serve more customers than similar restaurants in that area who don't have the technology advantage. So sometimes the technology can give you advantage. And today we have AI, we have cloud computing, we have all kinds of apps that you can use. And if you run a retail business, you can't do without technology in managing your inventory. All right, so the next, I think it's number 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the next one now is knowing your customer better than your competitors. That is a competitive advantage. It's just really great. I a couple of weeks ago, I paid a coach. Some of you here would know her because she's very, very popular and very successful on Facebook. She runs a course. So I paid her and had a couple of sessions with her. And I immediately saw why she makes a lot of money. In fact, in one of the batches she ran, she made 54 million. And when she sells her program, which goes for about 38,000 naira, when she sells that program, you have close to 2,000 people, 2,500 people registering to attend. And then she rinses and repeats. And I found that her competitive advantage, her greatest strength is that she understands the Nigerian market. In fact, sometimes you read her posts, she says something about Japa. It's like, where does she can't make that? She can't make the kind of money that she's making in Nigeria. She can't make it anywhere in Europe. She is not thinking that thing. So some of you who know her, you already know who I'm talking about. So knowing your customer in and out, because as we were discussing, I found that she really knows them. Therefore, it makes her posts fantastic. Every single, if she posts something, if you just watch it, she drops something right now, and then within 11 minutes, it already has, 100 and something comments, and then before you know it, 500 comments, 1,000, 2,000 comments, and all that, because she knows the hot buttons of the market. So knowing your customers is a great asset. It's a very, very important competitive advantage. The next one is what we call positioning strategy, positioning advantages. All right. And then positioning means that basically the way you present yourself in the market, your presence is so strong that when people think about a particular category of product or service, they automatically think of you. And then some of you would know that today in Nigeria, again, I don't know about Cameroon, Liberia, Ghana, in other places, when people want to go buy detergent, they say, the mother sends her little girl and says, go and buy Omo for me. Even though Omo, I don't even know if Omo still exists. I've never seen Omo. Has anybody seen Omo in recent times? I've never actually seen Omo. And so you go there, you're seeing Ariel, you're seeing Sunlight, you're seeing all kinds of brands, but they call them Omo. So because Omo, whoever made Omo, had shown very strong positioning such that the market just began to identify that category. Every detergent has Omo. The same thing happens with children's diapers. I was in a supermarket once, and then one lady was telling the store attendant, that she wanted Pampers, and she pointed up where the Huggies were, and she was asking, how much is that Pampers? But I looked and I found it very interesting, because I teach in business school, so I collect all this data. So she was pointing, it was actually Huggies, but she was saying, how much is that Pampers? So the Pampers brand became so strong. Sometimes you have what people in business school call first mover advantage, which is nothing to really take very serious, because a new entrant can just come in and then wipe out that advantage. So we're basically talking about how do you position yourself in the market such that when people think about um, database administrator, when people think about a coach in a particular area, you are the first thing that comes up. When people think about where to eat, your restaurant becomes like the very first one. When people think about where to go do their hair, because for some of you ladies here, it is amazing the amount of money that ladies who are doing hair business, skincare business in Nigeria are doing. My goodness, I was in a class with one of them about 3 weeks ago. This young woman, I think she's in her early 30s or so. This young woman is doing extraordinarily well, and what she's into is skincare. And to just give you an example of why she's doing so well, she spent in the past 6 months, she spent 18 million naira. She spends 3 million naira every single month on ads. So when I make some posts, people don't know where I'm coming from, and I tell you that people are quietly thriving. That you don't know, that you're not getting that experience simply means that you do not know. Because here, right here in this country, people, young women are making that kind of money. And you see, because I'm in that space, I teach a women's program, and I found women involved in hair care, skin care, beauty, what do you call it? These beauty products like Tara and things like they are making a heck of money, which also cycles back to what I was saying before, that you need to know your customers. Because it's better for you to find a level 10 opportunity, even if you're a level 1 skill, and focus on that. Because if you're level 10 opportunity and you don't even know too much about how to run a business, that market, that opportunity, will become very, very explosive, by itself. So positioning is important. How you position your brand in the market, and how you position so strongly that when people think about a particular thing, you are the first consideration. Of course, all the things that we're discussing apply to you as a person, your personal brand, as well as it does to your business. So you also need to position yourself in your content, in your posts, in the places you're appearing, as a person of authority, as a thought leader in that area. Okay, then the next competitive advantage, which number is this now? Is anybody following? I think this is number 6. I didn't number them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The 6th one is what we call 7. Okay, we call it value capture advantages. And let me explain value capture as a competitive advantage with a story. So some time ago, I called a fruit juice and then vegetable juice health store, natural juice store, not very far, just a couple of minutes, from our estate here along the road. I was heading out for an early morning workshop, to conduct an early morning workshop. And then I called them ahead of time and said, please do this for me. Do kale and pineapple and ginger or something, and then do pineapple and something. So I made that order, 2 things. And I said, I'm going to be there. My Uber is coming, and I'm going to be there in so minutes. Of course, the Uber came, and sure enough, I went there, and sure enough, my drinks, 2 of them, were ready. And I think it must have been something around 5,000-6,000 naira. Okay, and then I whipped out my card while the Uber guy was still waiting for me outside. I whipped out my card and gave the girl at the cashier. She said, "Oh, no, sir, our POS is not working." Whoa! And this was past 7 a.m. and I was okay. don't you have another POS apart from this one? She said, okay, let this other one that they have two or three, but that none of them was working. Network, something, something, something. I said, okay. So, can I transfer? She said, no, you can't transfer. That their boss said, my goodness, I have my money to give you, and you are putting such obstacles in my way to collect my money. That is value capture. So some people are working, but they are not capturing value because they don't have payment channels. But overseas, anywhere, especially in the US, since I go there frequently, especially there, you can't walk out of a store with money that you're supposed to use to pay, because they have so many payment channels. And right now, many of us are not growing our businesses in Africa because people don't have a way to pay us. We're not capturing the value. And now sometimes, like I think Thomas wants to pay for one of my services from Cameroon. There's no way to capture that value, because Thomas, you remember you said you guys use something you call Orange Money and then some other mobile money and all that. And here we don't have it. And this is what we've been telling African leaders, that we should facilitate payments in Africa so that we can facilitate trade within the continent. Because 70% of the trade in Africa is with outside world. We only do like 15% trading within ourselves. So payment can be a big demon in our businesses. Payment, just changing your payment and having, like, if your business has more ways to collect value, to collect payment than your competitors, that becomes a value capture advantage. Okay. Number 8 is capabilities and talents. So if you have employees in your business, or you yourself, you have skills that are very, very rare, it can give you a competitive advantage. So if you, and that's why in some of these multinationals, they do a lot of poaching of talent, because talent is everything. I remember a case in Ghana about a company that I know very well, that hired a Stanford MBA. That was bold. In fact, even Tara, because Tara was in the program, so she also told her story, how she hired as a small business, she hired a top person in Shell. So it's like biting more than you can chew. But a lot of us, small businesses, we're like, I can't pay. So you remain without the talent. So basically, this advantage is saying that the organization that has the best talent will win. If you have the best talent, you have the best programmers, you have the best logistics managers, you have the best network engineers, you're going to win. You have the best database administrators. All right. So then the number 8 is keeping costs low. That can become a competitive advantage. And if you keep your costs down, if you produce at a lower cost than your competitors. So when I was in Shell, I remember one of the key metrics that the oil companies, and I think they still do, that they use is the cost per barrel, how much it costs to produce a barrel. And at some point it was like $18. So Shell could have like $18.02. And the difference is in cents. And then maybe Mobil could have $18.05 or $18.50 and all that. Maybe Ajib could have $19. Now, the difference in cost per barrel can result in billions and billions of dollars in advantage. So if Shell is able to produce the barrel of oil at the most reduced cost, they will become much more profitable. So reducing the cost of doing your business, reducing wastages and things like that can be a competitive advantage. And then the final one, number 9, is barriers to entry. Okay, so some businesses, they have very, very low barrier to entry. What it means is that anybody can just do it. And the truth is, if you're in a business line where anybody can just do it, okay, you're making cakes, from your kitchen, you're making chin chin, um, all these things that people do. All right, anybody can do it because you don't need anything to do. You don't need too much money to start that. So the barrier to entry is very low. But now let's say you want to go into vegetable oil production. So by the time you now go and then price all the Chinese or German machines, and then cost of machinery alone is going to $800,000. So not too many people can do that. But you can find ways in your business to create what some people in a business environment, business schools call a moat, that actually makes it very difficult for people to do things you are doing at the level that you are doing it. So these are the 9 sources of competitive advantage. And we have 7 minutes to the hour. So what I'm going to do is we can have another session if you type in the comment section, because I usually want this thing to be very, very practical. So, and then in that session, we can use worksheets to say, given all these things that we have discussed, how do you find your own? And of course, I'm sure that listening to all these 9 sources, you're already beginning to get some ideas about how to find your own competitive advantage. The other thing I want to mention before we round off is that the greatest competitive advantage is actually you, especially if you find yourself in a low entry barrier business. Then you can become the competitive advantage. Your personal brand, can become a competitive advantage because you have a unique spin to how you think, to how you write, to how you do things. Okay, so in my case, for instance, there are many people who answer coaches, who are doing, but I do have very, very unique spins. I do have very unique and specific processes and products, and I do have a way I show up, and I do have a way I write. So it's difficult to copy. So basically what we're saying is make your style very difficult to copy. And then as much as possible, don't copy, because we seem to live in a copy and paste generation. But you can model what other people, successful people, are doing, and then generate something very, very unique to you. Has this been very helpful? Okay, and what are your aha moments? All right, great. So we have just a couple of minutes. So let me look at the comment. But even if I'm not able to answer the questions in the comment right now, if you've noticed, I usually go back to answer you. So you can always come back for the answers to your question. Very good. Okay. Yeah, Ebenezer, you knew the woman I was talking about. I knew that somebody will know. She is amazing. She is amazing. Abdurrahman, yeah, Ebenezer has mentioned her name, she is amazing. So I paid her and spent some time with her. I paid for knowledge, and it was worth it. Okay, excellent. All right, so this is where we're going to end today. Tomorrow night, let me look at the topic tomorrow night. Tomorrow is day 6, creating a business plan that works. And actually what we're going to do tomorrow, because I have a major event at the same time, 8 p.m. tomorrow. So anytime we have a major event, I would do it 3 hours before that. So it's going to be 5 p.m. tomorrow. So I'll set up the event, but once you mark your calendar, it will always be there. So what I would actually encourage you is like what I've done. The 1,000 days is ending in August. I have to check August 25 or something like that, of 2027. So what I've done is I've blocked 8 p.m. till August of 2027. And I'm really looking forward and excited about what this journey will produce for you. But I'm truly, truly, one of my prayers is that as you follow in this journey, that by the end of the next 1,000 days, that we would have produced millionaires in dollars. And I'm asking specifically for 20 millionaires in dollars. All right. So go through with the journey, trust the process. And when I give you exercises, please do them. And I told you the other day that whenever you get an insight that is meaningful to you, ask yourself the question, how can I make this actionable? So that it doesn't remain in your head. So even if it's just one thing you implement a day, every day, can you imagine if you implement something very, very powerful every day in your business or in your personal life? Like we finished today, you can ask yourself, what is one thing I can implement, I can act on, in the next 24 hours? You'll be amazed, how the results will compound. All right, so thank you all very much for being here. Professor Oti, I see you again. And Abdurrahman, thank you for being a regular. Chukwemeka, thank you. Thank you for being here. Ebenezer, thank you. And quite a number of you have not. Malik, really wonderful having you here. Okereke Dan, thank you. Awesome. Honoriode, Honorable, thank you. Honorable, just aside, let's talk later. Are you related to Bruce, the legend Bruce Honorable? When I worked for SOS Children's Village, Bruce was a very important partner. That surname is not very common. All right, so thank you all very much. Spread the word and bring in your friends. If you have benefited and you think that this is going somewhere, tell other people about it. Let's start seeing 10,000 people benefiting, and then let's build a community where we can easily support each other's businesses, where if any of you goes to Cameroon tomorrow, you have a contact, a trusted contact from this platform that you can do business with. So until same time tomorrow, keep showing up, because you have no idea just what's waiting for you. And don't be discouraged or distracted by all the things going on in the world. Israel is fighting, Kamala Harris and whatever. That's not your business. Tinubu and then the youth, that's not really your business. Focus on what you can control. And then when you control what you can, then you'll be able to control the things that you weren't able to control at that time. It sounded like Kamala Harris. But whatever happens, I love you. Keep showing up, and I'll see you same time tomorrow.